Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Game number 3 between ATN's DarKFoRcE and Grubby. We this time are here on Shattered Temple. Quite exciting. The series has been so far. Definitely been some pretty interesting games. I definitely would have to say DarKFoRcE right now is up 2-0 against Grubby, as you can see by that little text there from Sarah or whatever the hell you want to call him. And yeah, so there you go. Now we're going to be interested to see if Grubby can manage to turn this series around. We are, again, this time here on Shattered Temple, the new variation of what was once a Lost Temple. Given the fact that they're cross positions, we could very well see a macro game. Obviously, things like Warp Gate cut back on distance and make it that it doesn't really matter. They make it so that it doesn't really matter because you can warp in units. But even just being able to send out that probe to drop a proxy pylon, the position in relation to your opponent does make a difference in terms of aggression. And that's why a lot of times with these cross positions, even against a Protoss player, with the fact that Warp Gates come into play, even with that being the case, you do still tend to see macro-focused games for that very reason. Can see right now Grubby moving out with his probe scout, not scouting at DarKFoRcE's base initially, but going to be heading right on over into it immediately after. And let's take a look. Yes, opening up on one base plate again. DarKFoRcE really likes that safe, conservative Zerg opening, getting out those speedlings and taking care of any scouts, taking care of any proxy pylons. That's the entire purpose behind it. And as we've seen so far, it's been quite effective for him. It stopped Grubby from being able to effectively harass and delay the Expo based off of what Grubby was intending in his build anyways. And there's that pool. Gonna get this extractor saturated right now, and there you have it. Taking a look over here for Grubby. Nothing quite as of yet, so we got nothing going on. What should we do? Let's do another drink recipe. A dingo HO baby. No, not really, but this time I'm gonna teach you guys how to make the dingo drink. The dingo recipe is gonna be half an ounce of Southern Comfort peach liqueur, 1.5 ounces of light rum, 1 ounce of amaretto almond liqueur. It's also gonna be 1 ounce of sweet and sour mix, 2 ounces of orange juice, and a splash of grenadine. Now, for the drink itself, how are you going to make it? Well, you're going to combine all the ingredients into a cocktail shaker, shake well, strain over plenty of ice, and a highball glass, garnish with an orange slice, and serve. And there you go. That is going to be the dingo recipe. That's a pretty nice summer drink, and given the fact that, well, summer just started, at least here, I mean, for me, it just finally getting some warm days right now. Yesterday was 80, but there are also thunderstorms, so I didn't really count that. But today it is 75 and sunny, and I am absolutely thrilled. If you cannot tell by my commentary, I'm just in a chipper mood. And yes, my mood is somewhat affected by the weather. I have to say, I think I'm one of those people being chased by these three Zerglings right now in hot pursuit. They should not be able to catch up, though. Look at that exhaust. Aren't they coughing? How are they not wheezing right now, given the fact that they've got all this probe exhaust being spewed right into their face? Pretty interesting indeed. Back over here for DarKFoRcE. The first queen is up. Second queen is going to be coming. Should be soon. We do have this expo now just starting. There's that metabolic boost 50% of the way through. Taking a look over here for Grubby. Stalker coming on through. There's that Warp Gate research. We do have the drone scout inside of the main base right now, and once that Stalker's out, it's going to be forced to pull back. There's that chrono boosted Stalker, though, and actually, yeah, wow. So the drone is gone. See you later, drone. There's no way he's going to live to tell the tale of what he scouted inside of the main base. Luckily, though, they communicate through the Overmind. And he already knows. Now the commander knows about everything that's going on. What am I talking about? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Well, I'm just trying to think of how the different races communicate with one another. Okay, we have the drone over here. Unless there's like a satellite, if we think of the player themselves like watching the game through a satellite, then they can see everything that's going on. But if there's actually communication, you got to figure the Zerg uses the Overmind to communicate. I would imagine that the Protoss units have some sort of telepathy. They can communicate with each other that way. And in terms of Terran, well, they probably just have a radio. That's pretty standard communication for any human forces. So anyways, yes. What the F is FoRcE talking about? What a weirdo. What a weirdo indeed. Stalker moving on down. These Zerglings are going to want to piece on out of here. Zergling, run away. Save your life. No, you are dead. And is this Zergling going to die too? What is DarKFoRcE doing? Very close. Lost one Zergling unnecessarily. Luckily managed to get that second one away just in the nick of time. Scouting around with this Zergling for some proxies. There's that expansion. So is this a 3-gate expand? Yes, it is in fact a 3-gate expand from Grubby. And as I've said in prior games, and as I'll continue to say in the future, effective and just strong tactic as a Protoss player. Just works really well most of the time. Even if this isn't going to win you the game. This isn't like a one-base all-in or anything like that. But it sets you up for a very strong, very solid mid-game. It also protects you early game from a lot of would-be pushes. So it's a strong opening for that reason. layer coming on through right now. Also, Roach Warren is up and running. We can see that Evo Chamber making its way on through as well. Upgrades, everything like that going to be happening. Some scouting Zerglings, checking the Expo. I'm pretty positive that he did, in fact, see that. Yes, he did. So that Expo is spotted right now. DarKFoRcE knows what's going on. Going to be interested to see if and when he chooses to move into a third. Why do I mention that? Because a third is actually a little bit harder to get to this closest thirds. You need to actually break through rocks. These rocks up here to get into that third, and these rocks to get into the high yield. The other option is putting the third over here, but that's much further away and much more difficult to defend as a result. But just as I mentioned that, it looks like we are going to be seeing him go for the expansion at these rocks, so going to be using these Zerglings to whittle away at these. Luckily, these rocks have relatively low hit points. They're pretty easy to break through. As you can see, those Zerglings slowly whittle their way through that HP, and then eventually going to allow him to drop that hatchery. Now, Grubby is going to feel pretty comfortable to move out to try to get some map control. Also, a bit of a wall being formed here by these two gateways. There's that forge. Probably going to be seeing a level 1 upgrade coming on through. Also coming out with some hallucination. We've seen in the past how effective that can be as a scouted method. Hallucinated Phoenix, very, very strong indeed. Here's that Overlord Scout going to be used to sacrifice and or this one over here. Much more likely this one, though. He is closer to the main, and production buildings are much more likely to be in this vicinity. There's a robotics facility going down, some additional gas being placed at that Expo as well. Just about finished with these rocks, so here comes the expansion now. Should be moving on to drone to go ahead and get that up and running. Again, he doesn't want to be on the same number of bases as Grubby for too long. Zerglings scouting that little push out there. There's a hallucinated Phoenix there. So yes, just going to be gaining map control with these early forces. Sentry heavy pretty much allows you to do that early on in the game. Once you get up 5 or 6 sentries, you're pretty much set to go ahead and push out at this stage in the game. Especially given the fact that he's probably expecting an expansion to be coming from DarKFoRcE, given the fact that DarKFoRcE has scouted his second. And there is the Overseer Scout, and actually not going to be... yes, it will be sacrificed. It was a sacrificial one, because he ended up losing it. Back over here, going to be pulling back another Phoenix Hallucinated Scout, going to be moving out. This one checking the third over there. And again, we do have this high yield open, but it looks like DarKFoRcE is going to be feeling more comfortable to actually instead break through these rocks and take this expansion first. We'll be taking this itself. No, never mind. Wow, so breaking through those rocks anyways, but still deciding to go for the high yield expansion right over here. So there it goes. High yield expansion dropped, and yeah, there is the third. And look, at the same time, we are going to be seeing Grubby moving his third as well. So as I mentioned prior, cross positions. Looks like both players are in the mentality of macro, macro, macro. I'm going to be working up. I'm going to be expanding, getting a strong economy, everything like that. And we really got to make sure that DarKFoRcE is paying attention. Oh, he can see it. Yes. Oh, yes, he can. He knows the fact that these rocks are getting worked at right now. So he also knows that Grubby's going to be looking to expand over there. And as a result, very nice. I'm loving this right now. DarKFoRcE going to be sending some of his forces. Got 16 Zerglings coming too. He's going to be trying to deny this Expo. At the same time, we do have Grubby moving to the center of the map. He wants to try to see if this is happening. Is he going to catch the forces with this vision once he gets that Xel'Naga? Yeah, he does. He catches the forces over there, so he knew what was happening. Unfortunately, those nice force fields going down, trapping all of those roaches. Some additional force fields over there, cutting back on the surround from those Zerglings. Very nice entire wall off. Those poor roaches sitting in the middle right now, and because of those, he was able to deal with this push. Also, a proxy pylon for some reinforcements. As soon as that does get warped in, these roaches are obviously very effective, as well as those speedlings against those stalkers once they get up within range. And actually, it looks like this force is going to be pushing back right now, though still the speedlings in hot pursuit, going to be trying to pick off what they can. Taking out those sentries is huge. And wow, Grubby just lost all of those sentries, unfortunately for him. He's definitely going to want to push back right now. He does not have what it takes to contend with this. Just the speed and the effectiveness of these speedlings and roaches, just a little bit too much for him. We can see right now that third is up and running. Looks like at the same time, Grubby's going to be moving to his third over here. Again, taking a look here for DarKFoRcE, he does see that those rocks have been destroyed, so he's reasonably sure that this Expo is coming, so probably going to be seeing a fourth, and bam, there it is. The fourth going to be being dropped down right over there in that corner. Where's the drone that's doing it? There it is. So drone going to be dropping down this fourth over here. We are seeing a temporary little push, again, just trying to get map control. He's not expecting to push out to actually win the game right now. He's really not expecting to do too much damage. He just wants to maintain control of the center of the map. Some nice force fields, but not before the Zerglings get their surround. The roach reinforcements have been pushed back, though. Muta's coming into play as well. Unfortunately, not going to be that effective. There's a lot of anti-air right here, so those Mutas not going to be doing a whole heck of a lot. If he decides to go Muta heavy, then he's just going to have to be, of course, relying on harassing with those, and that's pretty much it. So look at this. Every single time, almost the second that Grubby drops his base, we are seeing that additional base being dropped by DarKFoRcE. Wow, whoa, what was that? That was really hard for me. Normally I would edit just an absurd mess up like that, but I'm not even going to bother. I'm just going to let that one roll. I can't even say the word force. That's weird. I have trouble saying my own name. Anyways, Muta's moving on out, and yes, as mentioned, they're going to be used solely for harassing. They are not meant to engage, especially given all the anti-air that we do have here from Grubby. Back over here, it's a little scout there, Stalker Scout, getting surrounded by those Zerglings, and he's going to break down these rocks, but we do have this cannon coming up. Grubby, expecting those rocks to be taken care of, is using that cannon to try to defend there. Once that does get dropped, we do have a burrowed Zergling over here, very nice. Going to be scouting that push out, and really nice spread of creep here from DarKFoRcE, really liking the map control he's got going on. Dropping another Expo, but Stalker fully aware of that, so Grubby's going to be expecting the fact that this Expo is up and probably going to be doing something to take care of it, most likely. Here we go, working out those back rocks. I don't expect him to push, though, given the fact that this huge-ass force is up here. But just breaking out those rocks and leaving that option open in the future. Pushing forward with those Zerglings, scouting that big threat up there and deciding to head back home as a result. Here come the Mutas, though. Going to be seeing some really nice harass. Needs to be careful, those Stalkers and Cannons. A little bit scary. You're just going to take a lot of damage. There's another Cannon there as well. Trying to get it down. Does manage to snipe it down very quickly. And going to be going for those Stalkers as well. So really liking the harass here from DarKFoRcE. Doing a good job. And then just hightailing it out of there when he's a little bit too concerned about the amount of forces. I don't know why this guy isn't burrowed. This guy's burrowed over here. We should be burrowing this one as well. Observer scouting that burrowed Zergling. So we'll be taking care of that once he does push out. Also really liking this wall off here. Some additional cannon work for some nice reinforcement there as well, and probably later down the road once he does move into this base, he will be destroying those cannons if the game gets to that point. Given the fact that there's been just such a macro heavy focus from both players, I wouldn't be too surprised if it did reach that later stage. Back over here, we can see DarKFoRcE, the 5th expansion, just about finished. Here's that 4th, going to begin that saturator right now. This is primarily right now just really going to be used just for larva, basically. He's not going to be doing too much mining. In terms of full saturation, you usually see him mining at about 3 bases. You can see spreading himself out, though. And there's some DT coming into play, working on the drone count over here. Any more DT? Yes, 1 DT going to be working up over there as well. So very nice tech switch there from Grubby, just trying to go for a little harassment. We did see him try to use DT in the past. Wasn't quite that effective, but as you can see here, doing a really nice job. 10 kills from this DT already, and is he going to make it 11? But no, there is the Overseer coming on in. DT is taken care of. Any more over here? Yes, the one still over here, and is he going to manage to take down this hatchery? This is actually going to be very close. The Overseer needs to head on over as quickly as possible. He could, oh no, he stopped attacking the hatchery. He could have killed it. Here comes the Overseer, so the DT is going to be taken care of, and that's very unfortunate. In all honesty, if he had kept that DT on that hatchery, he could have taken it out, and that would have been a nice victory for him. It wouldn't have won in the game, but it would have been something that definitely helped his cause quite a bit. Here comes a big push right now, clearing these creep tumors as well with the Observer that's moving on with the army. A couple more DT going to be rolling back in, and they're going to be going straight to that high yield again, undefended from that cloak detection. At the same time, here comes a big push, very Stalker heavy. Do they have blink? Yes, they do in fact have blink. Those DT getting spotted, though. There is the Overseer. Oh, wow. I'm really surprised he didn't actually push up with that, because if he had pushed at the same time as those DT, could have used them as a distraction. Those DT really could have gone to town there. But no, actually going to be heading back home right now, satisfied with the destruction of those creep tumors and the little bit of damage that the DT did do. One Observer going to be scouting out over here, wants to check for when this base does end up getting dropped, but no, actually heading on back right now. Going to be joining the main forces here in the middle. You can see right now Grubby moving into his 4th right now. And this base did get dropped by that DT. Very nice. In response to dealing with the 2 DT in the high yield, he pulled his Overseer away. The DT that was in the base over here did manage to take down this Expo. So very, very nice play by Grubby. That's definitely the kind of thing that he needs to do to win this game. Harassing those Expos and doing that kind of damage is so effective, because right now, as we can see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5th base coming in right now for Grubby. And at the moment, we only have got 4 bases for DarKFoRcE. So DarKFoRcE needs to get back up that base count, and just these DT have been a real big nuisance right now. He's flying around with that one Overseer, missed that DT completely. Another DT rolling on over there, but no, with that Spore Crawler, going to be denying that. This TD going to be chilling out at this Expo for once it does attempt to get dropped, and this is very nice. Nice force fields, though, delaying those Zerglings from pushing on up. Zerglings and trying to get up close, but again, those force fields denying that from happening. Mutas moving in, blinking right under them, doing a lot of damage, forcing those Mutas to pull away. That is the last thing that those Mutas want to deal with, is blink Stalkers. Those sentries, too, with that Guardian Shield really cuts back on the effectiveness of that. Again, trying to push in with very Speedling heavy Mutas as well. Just a few Roaches, and I do not know if this is the right unit composition right now for DarKFoRcE. Nice, very nice play there. Feedback going down on that Overseer, dropping it very quickly. Again, blink Stalkers taking care of all of those Zerglings as well as those Mutas, going to force those to push away. And this is a little bit scary right now for DarKFoRcE. DarKFoRcE switching up his unit comp, deciding that he wants to go with that speed and harass of the Speedling Muta build. as opposed for the durability and damage of that Roach Hydra build. And so far in the engagements, really hasn't worked out too well for him. Taking a look at the unit loss tab, we can see DarKFoRcE definitely in a much worse position than his opponent here, Grubby. So far hasn't worked that well. We really do need to see a lot more harassment come out from DarKFoRcE. He's got a big Mutacloud. This is certainly capable of doing a lot of damage, sniping buildings, sniping workers. That's what you need to use it for. So hopefully, if DarKFoRcE wants to get back in this game, he needs to do a bit of damage here. So going to be moving in. First, looks like he is taking out the cannon. Going to be trying to work on the Nexus now. I'm a little bit concerned because the only thing this is mining right now is Vespian. Yes, Vespian is a very rich, very important resource late in the game, but still, there's other things that he could be going for, but deciding to go for that, going to deny him the Vespian gathering from his main. Keep in mind, though, that these mains are almost mined out of Vespian, only 364 and 668 on that, but still, taking something out is really all that matters. You just want to pick and prod and do a little bit of damage and then move on. Looks like we're going to be seeing some more Prism Harass. It's going to be walking right by these Overlords, though. So DarKFoRcE is going to be seeing this coming. Let's see if he actually spotted that on the minimap and if he's going to respond. Looks like it is going to be 2 Zealots and a DT that come on into play. Going to be rolling right into the main and trying to do a bit of damage. He hasn't spotted it yet, though. He's too busy dealing with the DT down here to actually deal with this. This is unreal. As soon as this gets burrowed, though, he's going to be able to detect that DT. So hopefully the DT heads out of there. At the same time, there's a DT in the main. Nice transfuse going down, but it looks like he's going to be losing the Roach Warren, so no more Roaches right now. Hopefully he recreates that Roach Warren so that he can build. There we go. So we got another Roach Warren coming out probably at one of those expos somewhere around here. We also have a Greater Spire coming through, so going to be seeing some Brewlords, but this DT harass has been pretty nuts right now. Also picking up a High Templar, going to be heading out with that and using that at a later date. Grubby has been doing a great job so far this game of harassing the economy and just taking out tech buildings of DarKFoRcE, and that's precisely what he needs to do. Blinking right under that Overseer, taking it out. We do have an Archon leading the way with 2 kills already. Where's that Muta Death Cloud? There it is. But again, where is the harassment from these mutas? We saw him take out that Nexus, but besides that, there really hasn't been a lot of damage from them. And again, realize that these mutas are great at harassing, but they're not that great at a big engagement, especially against all these Blink Stalkers. Once that big fight does come, those mutas are not suited well for dealing with Blink Stalkers. Also, we have some High Templar in there for Storm. So here comes the harassment finally, and look at this Death Cloud, how much damage it does so quickly. This is precisely what we need to see DarKFoRcE doing. He's going to be taking out these production buildings. That's exactly what I want to see here. Probably just going to be seeing Grubby actually cancel these. He's really going to have a hard time dealing with this. He's got to walk his forces all the way through this maze just to get out of here. And by the time he does, these mutas are going to be long gone, taken out. But at the same time, here comes a counter push right now. We've got some Blink Stalkers going to be taking out this high yield herd, and that economy is definitely big right now. Speedlings rolling up in the center. A couple of Roaches doing some damage as well. At the same time, we do have this mutas here up in the main doing so much damage. Here come all of the forces of Grubby. Once Grubby does get those forces here to deal with these mutas, it's going to be forcing them to shoo away. The Zergling's still doing so much damage. Unreal. Taking out all these production buildings right here in the middle. We do have a 1 High Templar moving on across, though, trying to do some damage over there as well. Also, he has lost his high yield. Keep that in mind. Muta's still going to town, doing a lot of damage. This is precisely what we have wanted to see this entire game. This Muta Death Cloud really got to be focused on doing that, and look at the devastation that this Muta Death Cloud has laid out. Lost a ton of gateways, lost all of his production buildings, lost that Dark Shrine there as well, lost this one Nexus over here. Also, we saw him lose that main Nexus earlier. In terms of trading blows, we did see him take out this high yield with a couple of those Blink Stalkers, so Grubby did have that on his side, and he is just going to be pushing out right now. Grubby's sitting on a lot of resources. He just does not have enough production buildings, though. Going to be forced to try and make some. We have a couple of DT trying to come up here and take out these gateways, as well as these forges, and it's going to be a while before they can whittle down that Nexus, but still going to go for it. Luckily, Blink Stalkers, with that mobility, going to be able to move up and take those out very quickly. Here come the mutas again, though, in the main of Grubby. Grubby still losing a lot of production buildings. This is completely nuts. A couple of Zealots being warped in over here. If he can hurt the economy, though, there's not a lot of mining going on for DarKFoRcE right now. Muta Death Cloud going around doing a bit of damage. Blink Stalkers here at this expo going to be taking out those mutas. Very nice, blinking right under them. Please, Zealots, go do something. There we go. Zealots going to be going in here, and I have a feeling they're going to do a ton of damage right now. Take a look at the army count. They're about even. DarKFoRcE at the slight advantage, 127 to 126, but realize that the units of Grubby are so much more durable. Look how many mutas there are. Or is he going to take out this expansion? That would be nuts. It looks like he's going to. Yes, taking out the expansion. We'll look for some storms, but no. At the same time, the Zealots took out this expo right now. The only mining base right now for DarKFoRcE is this one over here. He's going to have mining over here soon as well. These mutas really need to continue up this damage, though. These Blink Stalkers just being completely nuts, just tearing through these resources right now. Good job on those mutas. Blink Stalkers right underneath the mutas. There's going to be a lot of damage right here. Poor mutas taking heavy losses, but they have definitely done some damage in return. We have seen the devastation laid out by those mutas. Those Zealots still going to town here. And those Zealots were definitely big heroes taking out this Expo. At the same time, though, the Mutas have taken out all those mining Expos as well, but Grubby does have this up. Grubby also sitting with this mining base. And keep in mind, in terms of mining right now, DarKFoRcE only has this one right now. That's the only base that's going to be mining. Here come those Blink Stalkers pushing up in the main, right under the Mutas. Mutas sitting under the Blink Stalkers. This is not what they want to be doing, taking so much damage. DarKFoRcE not pulling away with those Mutas, just trying to rely on his numbers, but it doesn't look like it's going to be enough. There are the Storms, and there is the GG. We had a very macro-focused early game with Grubby starting off with a 3-gate expand and then moving into his 3rd expansion. And then seeing that fast expand from Grubby, DarKFoRcE decided to come out with his 3rd here at this high yield. Our first engagement came at around the 11-minute mark as Grubby was moving across the map to try to get some map control. He did run into the Speedlings and Roaches here of DarKFoRcE. As you can see, that great force field entrapment there, keeping those Roaches right in the center. But still, these Roaches are so durable against these gateway units. They were able to consistently push, and then we saw some Speedling reinforcements move in that actually ended up pushing back the army of Grubby. Again, Grubby was trying to maintain map control, but because of the quick reinforcement of DarKFoRcE's troops, he was able to actually fend this back. We then saw both players continue to macro up, with Grubby moving into his 3rd, and then DarKFoRcE moved into his 4th and eventually 5th as well. We then saw some simultaneous harassment as Grubby moved out with some DT. DarKFoRcE also moved out with some Mutalisks. Now the Mutalisks were able to walk right into the main and try to do a bit of damage. Unfortunately, walking into the Stalkers pretty much forced them to push back. It wasn't until later in the game that they were actually able to do a bit of damage. The DT, however, of Grubby managed to do quite a bit of damage at this expansion, killing off a ton of probes. The other DT did manage to harass a little bit of the 5th Expo of DarKFoRcE as well. Point in the game in terms of harass that really helped Grubby's cause was when he moved in the high yield with 2 DT. It actually forced the Overseer of DarKFoRcE to move down and deal with these 2 DT. But at the exact same time, he had another DT up in the 5th, killing off the Expo. And as you can see right here, managed to take out that Expo. That was a actually big victory for Grubby. Our first real large engagement then came right after that DT harass. We can see the Speedlings and Mutas trying to move down to deal with this Blink Stalker heavy army, but unfortunately for DarKFoRcE, this is not the unit composition you want to deal with Blink Stalkers. The Speedlings and Mutas are just really not durable enough. The rest of the game was literally all about harass with a bunch of base trading, well, somewhat base trading, and just taking out buildings and sniping armies and all sorts of stuff like that. We see these Mutas taking out the Nexus over here. We then had some DT and Zealot harassment of the main, which managed to take out this Roach Warren, which actually had to force DarKFoRcE to make it again. DarKFoRcE continued to work up on his Muta Death Cloud, walking right into the main of Grubby and taking out all of his production buildings in the main, also dropping his Dark Shrine. With the Muta Death Cloud in his base, Grubby moved down to take out the high yield expansion of DarKFoRcE. But then DarKFoRcE's Death Cloud was able to take out his natural expansion as well as his 3rd. As we can see here, this Muta Death Cloud just tear through these buildings. At the same time, Grubby with some Zealots dropped into the 3rd base, was able to take out the hatchery of DarKFoRcE. And this left DarKFoRcE on just 1 mining base. Even with losing all his bases, Grubby still had this expansion up, which is the natural 4th, and then also the 5th expansion over here. And because of this, he had a huge economic advantage, as you can see in the income tab up there. And that's pretty much what let Grubby win the game. So wow, what a game. This was game number 3 in the series between these two players. Grubby is now back in it with 1 win in the past 3 games. DarKFoRcE did win the first 2. Pretty nuts, guys. That's all I really have to say about that. We're going to be moving on to game number 4 in just 1 minute. So as always, guys, if you like the content, please do go ahead and subscribe to our channel. And as always, keep watching and keep owning.